Welcome to Neville Manifestation, a space where you don't just learn about manifestation, you begin to understand the power within you that creates your entire reality. If you're truly ready to go beyond techniques and step into mastery, consider joining our membership, where we dive deeper into transforming your assumptions into real, lasting change. What if I told you that everything you've been trying to fix, chase, or change in your life has been built by something you've been unconsciously doing every single day? Not your actions, not your circumstances, but the quiet assumptions you carry within you. Right now, as you sit here, you are not just experiencing reality, you are creating it. And the most dangerous part is, you've been doing it without even realizing it. But tonight, that changes. Tonight, I want to share something with you that goes deeper than any method or technique you've ever heard about. This is not just another tool you can add to your collection to improve your life. It is the very foundation behind every method that has ever worked for anyone, whether they understood it or not. Your imagination is not just a passive ability. It is the creative force of the universe moving through you. And what truly shapes your life is not what you wish for or what you hope might happen, but what you quietly accept as true deep within yourself. That inner acceptance, that settled knowing, is what eventually becomes your reality. This is not symbolic or poetic language. It is important to understand that clearly. A metaphor compares one thing to another, but what I am explaining is not a comparison. It is the actual way reality forms. You are not simply living in a world and occasionally influencing it with your thoughts. You are constantly shaping your experience through the assumptions you carry. Most of these assumptions were never consciously chosen. They were picked up over time and now operate automatically, like habits running in the background. If this is the case, then a natural question comes up. Why aren't people living the lives they truly want? Why do so many intelligent and sincere individuals remain stuck in situations that don't reflect their desires? The answer is simple, even though it carries deep implications. Most people are creating their lives without awareness. Over the years, they have planted mental and emotional patterns into the subconscious through repeated thoughts and feelings. And those patterns continue to grow, producing the exact circumstances they experience. Someone living in constant lack is not simply unlucky. They have unknowingly been reinforcing the idea of lack again and again, and the results are showing up exactly as planted. But here is the part that changes everything. You can choose what you plant from this moment forward. It does not matter what has already been planted. The subconscious does not judge or resist. It will grow whatever you give it next with complete consistency. The first real step toward conscious creation is clarity. This is where most people lose direction before they even begin. Saying things like, I want to be successful, or I just want to be happy, is not enough. These are not true assumptions. They are vague directions with no clear destination. When your intention is unclear, your subconscious has nothing solid to work with. And more importantly, you yourself don't feel anything definite. The subconscious doesn't respond to general ideas. It responds to specific experiences. It works with detailed impressions, not broad categories. So instead of imagining success, think about a real moment in a real life. Picture a specific morning. What do you see when you wake up? What is around you? What do you do first? And how does it feel? Don't think in terms of general happiness. Focus on a single moment, a real interaction, or a simple experience that would naturally exist if your desire were already fulfilled. The more detailed and real your scene feels, the clearer the message you are sending to the part of you that actually creates. This is not because the universe needs detailed instructions like a blueprint. It is because unclear images lead to unclear feelings. And it is not the image itself that creates, but the feeling behind it. If the feeling is not clear, there is no real impression. And without a strong impression, nothing changes. This leads to the most important step. You must feel as though your desire is already fulfilled. Not in the future, not when things improve, but right now. This idea confuses many people because it seems like you are being asked to feel something that isn't supported by your current reality. That confusion comes from misunderstanding how the subconscious works. The subconscious does not experience time the way your logical mind does. It does not separate life into past, present, and future. It only knows what is being impressed upon it in this moment. If you keep feeling that your desire is somewhere ahead, something that will happen later, something you are still waiting for, then the only message your subconscious receives is not yet. And it will continue to create a life where your desire always feels just out of reach. But when you feel, right now, what you would feel if your desire were already real, the message changes completely. The subconscious accepts that feeling without question. It does not check your current circumstances. It simply begins shaping reality to match what it has received as truth. This is not about pretending or fooling yourself. Pretending suggests you know something is false. What you are doing here is the opposite. You are recognizing that your inner state is the true starting point of reality. What you accept internally is, in the deepest sense, more real than what has not yet appeared physically. To feel the wish fulfilled is not to deny your current situation. It is to align with a deeper truth within you and allow the outer world, which always follows, to reflect that truth. So how do you actually practice this? Start by calming your mind, not by forcing it into silence, but by allowing it to relax. Let your thoughts slow down naturally, the same way water becomes still when it is no longer disturbed. You don't need to fight your thoughts, just give them space to settle. As your mind becomes quieter, you gain access to a deeper level within yourself. In this relaxed state, create your scene. Keep it simple. Don't try to imagine a long story or a complex sequence. Focus on one short moment. Choose a moment that could only happen if your desire were already fulfilled. If you want a meaningful career, imagine sitting at your desk feeling satisfied and accomplished. If you want a loving relationship, imagine a small, real interaction that reflects that connection. Stay with that single moment. Feel it as real. Let the experience become natural to you. This is how you communicate clearly with your subconscious and begin to reshape your reality from the inside out. Imagine a moment where a colleague pauses and says something kind about your work, and you receive it without surprise, without overthinking it, just with a calm sense that this is normal for you now. Or if your desire is financial abundance, picture yourself briefly checking your account, not with excitement or disbelief, but with a quiet certainty, almost like confirming something you already knew. This simplicity is not a weakness in the process. It is actually the point of it. A single clear moment allows you to fully step into it. When the scene becomes too complex, your attention shifts into managing details, and you remain the one creating a story instead of the one living it. That shift matters more than anything else. Do not stand outside the scene watching it happen. Be inside it. There is a real difference between seeing something in front of you and experiencing it as your environment. When you observe it from a distance, you remain someone who does not yet have it. But when you are inside the scene, you step into the version of you who already does. And creation only happens from within. It is important to be honest about where most people struggle with this. Many can build the scene clearly in their mind. They can picture the room, the conversation, the situation. But they stop there, thinking that clarity alone is enough. It is not. A clear image without feeling is just a picture. It represents the desire, but it does not create it. What gives life to the scene is the feeling, not forced excitement or exaggerated emotion, but a natural, grounded sense of what it is like to be the person for whom this is already real. A quiet kind of gratitude that does not need to be expressed loudly because nothing feels unusual. It is simply your reality. A calm ease that comes from not needing anything anymore because it is already yours. A steady satisfaction that belongs to someone who is not chasing this moment but already living in it. When you reach that point, even briefly, when the scene stops feeling like imagination and begins to feel like an experience, you have done the real work. Everything after that is just repetition, strengthening what has already been planted. Repetition matters more than most people realize. The first time you enter a new scene, it may feel unfamiliar. There can be a slight resistance, not dramatic, but enough to remind you that this is new. The feeling may not fully settle in, or it may come and go quickly. That does not mean you are failing. It simply means you are creating something that has not yet become natural. Return to the same scene again and again. Each time the feeling becomes easier to access. It lasts longer. It feels more real. Over time, it requires less effort, and eventually it begins to arise on its own. What started as something you practiced becomes somewhere you can naturally be. This is how a chosen assumption becomes your dominant state, instead of just an occasional exercise. And it is this dominant state that creates your life, not the few minutes you spend imagining. The subconscious responds to what is consistently impressed upon it, not what is briefly felt and then replaced by old patterns for the rest of the day. This is what it means to live in the end, and it is often misunderstood. It does not mean pretending to others that your life has already changed or denying your current situation. It is something much more internal than that. It means carrying the feeling you created in your imagination into your daily life instead of dropping it the moment you return to reality. If your desire is financial freedom, you do not act irresponsibly or ignore your current situation. Instead, you handle what is in front of you with the calm confidence of someone who is no longer defined by lack. When a bill arrives, you do not fall back into fear. You meet it with the steady feeling of enoughness, not by denying reality, but by refusing to let it control your inner state. This is not an act, it is a real shift in who you are being. And it takes persistence, because your old emotional patterns are familiar and automatic. The new ones require attention until they become just as natural. There is another point that often creates confusion. This teaching can sound like it is telling you to do nothing, but that is not true. It changes the way action works. When you act from a place of lack, from the feeling that you do not have something and need to get it, that energy carries into everything you do. Every action reinforces the sense that something is missing. That is why so much effort leads to little change. It is not that effort is wrong, but that it is coming from the wrong state. When action comes from fulfillment, it feels completely different. It does not feel like forcing or chasing. It feels natural, like following an inner direction that simply makes sense. You are not trying to make things happen. You are moving as the version of yourself who already has what you want. From that state, the right actions appear easily, often in ways your old way of thinking would not have considered. So do not avoid action, but do not confuse constant busyness with real creation. Activity driven by lack only produces more of the same. Movement that comes from fulfillment builds the life that matches it. There is also a quality you must develop, and it is often misunderstood. Detachment does not mean you stop caring. It means you stop constantly checking for results. It means you do not look at your current reality for proof that what you are doing is working. Every time you check anxiously, you are reinforcing the idea that it is not here yet. That assumption alone can delay everything. True detachment comes from trust. If the imaginal act with feeling is the cause, then the physical world is simply the effect, unfolding in its own way and time. You do not dig up a seed to see if it is growing. You plant it, you take care of it, and you allow it to grow unseen. That kind of detachment is not indifference. It is confidence at its highest level. There is also a deeper form of gratitude that belongs here. Most people feel grateful after something good happens. But there is another kind of gratitude, one that comes before the result appears. A quiet thankfulness for something not yet visible. Not because you are hoping for it, but because in your inner world it is already done. Gratitude, when it's real, doesn't come after something shows up in your life. It comes from knowing deep down that it's already yours. When you genuinely feel thankful for something that hasn't appeared yet, you're stepping into the state of already having it. That feeling isn't forced or performed. It's natural. It's what you would feel if your desire were already fulfilled. This kind of gratitude isn't a trick to get results, like you're trying to earn something from the universe. It's simply the emotional expression of living as if your desire is already part of your reality. And when that feeling is real, it reinforces the assumption you're holding. There's another practice that's just as important, and it often gets overlooked: revision. At the end of the day, before you fall asleep, take a few moments to look back at what happened. Not to judge yourself or dwell on mistakes, but to notice where things didn't align with the state you're trying to live in. When you find those moments, don't deny that they happened. Instead, reshape them in your mind. Replay them the way you wish they had gone. If a conversation didn't go well, imagine it unfolding perfectly. Feel the relief, the satisfaction, the ease of how it should have been. Let that revised version feel real to you. This isn't about lying to yourself about facts. It's about understanding that what influences your future isn't the event itself, but the impression it leaves on your mind. And that impression is something you can change. When you practice this regularly, something shifts. You don't just carry better impressions forward, you start reacting differently in real time. You become calmer, less triggered, not because life suddenly becomes perfect, but because you're no longer letting every experience leave a mark without your awareness. You might notice that some desires show up quickly while others take more time. That difference often creates doubt, but the timing isn't random. It depends on how deeply rooted your old beliefs are compared to the new ones you're trying to adopt. Some assumptions slide into place easily and manifest almost immediately. Others are replacing years of opposite thinking, and that takes repetition. Not because the process is slow, but because there's more to shift internally before the new state becomes dominant. Persistence here isn't about forcing anything. It's not struggle. It's simply returning, again and again, to the feeling of your wish already fulfilled, especially when your outer world seems to say otherwise. Each time you come back to that state, you strengthen it. Eventually, it becomes the default pattern, even if the outside world hasn't caught up yet. There's something even deeper that can quietly block everything if you don't address it. You might try to assume a new reality, but underneath it, you're holding a belief that you're not the kind of person who gets to have that reality. You imagine success, but part of you believes it's not meant for you. You picture love, but carry a hidden sense of unworthiness. That conflict cancels everything out because the deeper belief about yourself always wins. This is why changing your self-concept is essential. It's not just about what you want, it's about who you believe you are. What feels natural for someone like you? What kind of life you think belongs to you? This isn't about pretending to be someone else. It's about recognizing that at your core, you are awareness itself, the space where all experiences happen. That awareness isn't limited by your past or defined by what you haven't experienced yet. The limitations come from the identity you've built over time, not from your true nature. When you align your desire with a new sense of self, when you feel both, I have this, and this is normal for me, you remove the internal resistance. There's no longer a split between what you want and who you think you are. And when those align, things begin to unfold naturally without that inner tension. At the end of all this, it comes back to one simple idea. You're not learning a method to get things. You're realizing that you've been shaping your experience all along through the assumptions you hold, most of them unconsciously. The world around you isn't happening to you, it's reflecting from you. And now, with awareness, you can choose those assumptions deliberately instead of by default. This doesn't mean life becomes passive or that you stop taking action. It means you stop fighting against reality as if it's separate from you. Instead, you engage with it differently, knowing that your inner state is what guides everything. So choose your assumptions carefully, not with fear or pressure, but with quiet awareness. There's a difference between being serious and being anxious. This is about being intentional, not stressed. As you go to sleep tonight, the thoughts you settle into, the feelings you carry, the scene you imagine, they matter. They're not random, they're seeds. And in time, those seeds will shape what your life looks like. So plant them with understanding, know what you're creating, and let the state you fall asleep in be one where your desire already feels real. This is not about learning something new, but remembering what has always been true. You are the creator of your experience through what you consistently assume to be real. The world you see is not separate from you. It is a reflection of the state you live in within. When you choose your assumptions consciously, feel them deeply, and persist in them without doubt, your reality has no choice but to follow. So walk away from this not with effort, but with quiet certainty, because the moment you change within, your world has already begun to change. And that is the power you have always held.